Sounds good.
Okay, so you probably have to hit OK when you step in, and it's going to ask you for recording. Okay,
Okay.
so my name is Shel Sawyer. I am a certified divorce financial analyst. Um, I am also a mediator, a financial recovery coach, and a co-parenting coach. Okay, so I help people walk through divorce, making good decisions, financially, parenting wise, anything emotional. I'm also a certified divorce coach. So I have a laundry list of certifications to help people going through divorce. And I'll go into a little more with that, my presentation. But this is Mia.
Hi, everybody. My name is Nia Srodoski. I'm an attorney licensed in Connecticut and Mass. I assist my clients in real estate matters, probate matters, but here today I'm here to talk about estate planning along with Shell, about how to, handle your estate planning, things you should look out for in your divorce decree. And if you have any questions, I'm here to answer them after Michelle discusses the divorce process. Nice to meet you all.
Mm, thank you. Okay. And before I share, I just wanted to mention again that you have the ability to um, write any questions in the chat. That's how we'll handle any kind of Q&A session. Okay. And I'm not probably going to be able to see it while I'm doing my presentation, but I'll look at it once I'm done and we can answer anything then. And then Nia's going to kind of take it from there. Okay. So I am going to share my screen and find my presentation here. Okay, so I'm gonna display the middle slideshow if I can, if it'll let me. Okay, so this session was called Planning to Divorce in Connecticut in 2026. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how do you start this process, right? I actually did a little video yesterday because I was talking to someone during the day, and I think most people think that where you start is hiring an attorney, right? But that is probably not the wisest choice. And the reason is because there's many ways to go about divorcing, and it's good to get an idea of what this process looks like, do a little planning before you jump into it. So I'm going to talk about that. Where do you start when you're hiring or when you're starting divorce? So like I said, I'm Shel Sawyer, certified divorce financial analyst. My background is in finance. I came from the financial services industry. I have my master's in accounting. But when I went through my own divorce, I found it to be very overwhelming. I was kind of sideswiped by the whole thing. I was devastated. Some days I could barely get out of bed, let alone make decisions for my future and my daughter's future. So after I was done with that process and the fog kind of cleared, I said, how can I help other people going through divorce? Because this is hard, right? I don't even think, and this is just a little bit, I don't even think I remember anything the mediator said. Honestly, when I look back on that, I was like, I compiled this paperwork. Um, this is strange, right? So, am I frozen, Nia? Can you hear me? Am I frozen? No. Okay. Um, so that's when I started my own business, Finding Strength with Shell. Okay, so I'm a mediator. I'm a divorce guide and planner. I'm a financial recovery coach and a co-parenting coach. Okay, so here's some of the things I'm going to talk about today. I'm going to talk about what does success look like for in your divorce. What are kind of the different paths you could take? Some things you should do first, those first steps. How do you navigate the process? Some pitfalls to avoid, and then finally what I offer. Okay. So, what does success look like for you? Every divorce is different. Okay. It's so unique to you. And I would say what drives most of the uniqueness is your financial portfolio. Okay. Every couple is going to have a little bit different financials. Their house is going to be a different value. The retirement funds that they have are going to be different values. So I, this is how I would define success, is that you have peace of mind, okay? That you are making the best decisions for your future, okay? That you're not being manipulated. Um, this can happen easily. I'm going to kind of point some things out along the way. And then you make sure that you have enough money to have a fresh start, okay? Even if this divorce is not something you want, or maybe it is, right? Either way, it's something that you should really plan for, right? And have a strategy so that when you come up on the other side, you are peaceful, you know you did all the right things, you dotted your I's and you crossed your T's. We take a lot of time in planning for our weddings, right? And we spend a lot of money on that. But we don't do that when we are going through a divorce. The same thing is not done on the other end, right? Most people, I would say, hire the first attorney that comes their way, right? Sometimes that does not work out. Sometimes it does, right? But what I want to say is attorneys are great. There's a wonderful place for them in the process. They are there to help you protect your legal interests, but they are not your financial planner. They are not your emotional support person, and they're not your guide, right? So make sure you understand the process. And you know, when you do hire your attorney, you have thought through it and you've hired somebody that feels good for you, right? And you connect with, right? Um, so here are the different divorce paths. Okay. There's four of them. I'm going to start with this pro se. Okay. This is when you represent yourself in court. Okay. You both do. You waive your right to an attorney. You fill out all the paperwork on your own. Um, this can be for some people, I would say, if you haven't been married long or you don't have children. Okay. I wouldn't go through this process if you have the pro se process, if you have children, because you know, it can lead to complications, right? But this can be an easy, simple way to do it. You go into the clerk's office, and they'll give you a stack of paperwork to fill out. You do that and you submit it, right? But here's the manipulation part. There's no one here to protect your interests, right? If you do it in this way, you don't have an attorney that's looking out for your best interest legally, right? Making sure everything's submitted properly, that you've thought about all your different angles. Some people don't even, there's a financial affidavit. That's what kind of starts the process. And it basically kind of lays out what you own and owe. And some people don't even fill it out fully. So you don't really know what you're getting, if you're getting your fair share, right? Um, and here's like, I think a lot of people that go through this way is they just want it over with, right? But they're potentially leaving hundreds of $1,000s on the table, right? If somebody doesn't disclose their full retirement fund, if somebody doesn't disclose like a previous retirement fund that they had, right? You are leaving that on the table. So be careful on that. Litigation. This is like the traditional, you each hire an attorney. They are your advocate. They make sure you're legally protected. They are going to fight for you. Um, and they're going to use the family court and family court orders to help this resolve. I would say most people or most attorneys don't want you to go to court, right? They want to resolve everything before you get there. But this it has the ability to be the most conflict and the most expensive, right? This is the conflict, right? Definitely, if there's been any abuse in your relationship, this is the way you should go. Litigation. That's what it's there for, is to help protect you. Okay. Now, if there's not any abuse, that could be financial abuse too, right? Emotional, any of that. Mediation is a good way to go. Mediation is using a third party neutral that helps you make good decisions. They are trained. They're trained to be impartial. They assist in reaching a settlement. Okay. This is going to be your lowest cost, your lowest time um, avenue. Okay. Besides the pro se, but this is going to be your lowest cost, lowest time. And mediators are they are skilled in helping facilitate the conversation, right? You want to find somebody that works for you, whether it's an attorney, whether it's a certified divorce financial analyst like myself, a co-parenting coach. This is what they specialize in. Okay. Then there's collaborative. I want to say it's kind of in the middle of litigation and mediation, right? Collaborative is a team approach. You work together to kind of come up with your divorce agreement, okay? Without going to court. That's the ideal of collaborative is you don't go to court, right? But you're going to resolve everything before you get to that point. It can be a little costly because you're hiring attorneys, right? And you might be having a financial expert on this team, a therapist, a divorce coach, and you're paying for all of it, right? But it is I'm glad they came up with this approach. There was a law that was passed last year that kind of made this like even more, approachable and the ability to do that. And with collaborative and mediation, usually you get to waive the 90-day waiting period in Connecticut if you can come to an agreement. Helps kind of be a little less stressful, right, than going the litigation path. And nobody needs to be served. So those are good methods to go about the divorce path. So if you're thinking like, I'm not quite ready to start yet, but I'm contemplating it. I would say that the first place you should start, right, is gathering your finances. That's like the first thing that in Connecticut that you need to do. I don't know if you guys can hear that motorcycle going by, but sorry. Um, I work in a very like busy area. Sometimes a lot of that's going on. Okay. Gather your finances. Oops, sorry. I went the wrong way here. Okay, when you gather your finances. So, do that before you even start. Understand what you own and owe, right? Even just as simple as writing it down. I have checklists out on my webpage if you want to kind of go gather some templates and checklists to kind of look at like what should you be doing. But gather your bank statements. Look at like what does my home mortgage look like? How much does my house actually could it be on the market for, right? Um, this one's kind of like it's an interesting concept, right? Because I would never say go out to Zillow's not going to be the final number, right? Because it's an algorithm. But it's a good place to start is to kind of go look on Zillow and they're like, how much does my house cost? What does my mortgage look like? There's a lot to do with the home in divorce, right? You're looking at, if you want to stay, you might be buying somebody out. There's a lot of things to think about when it comes to the home, right? Are you going to sell it? A most recent thing with homes that's been like very popular is called assumed mortgages. So if you have a mortgage that has a great interest rate on it, and you're going to need to refinance because you want to get the other person off of the mortgage, they a lot of companies right now are doing assumable mortgages, which means you're getting refinanced, but you're able to keep your interest rate. So it's been wonderful because I know like that's people's concern is like if I refinance, I'm going to go from like a 2.5 to a 6 or 7. If you can do it and your mortgage company does that, I'd look into it, right? Don't do anything before you get divorced, by the way. This is just gathering data. Look at all your retirement statements. Think about like, what does your spouse have? What does those look like? Even if they're in their name and only their name, they are considered marital assets. Okay. Marital assets are anything that you've acquired during your marriage or is increased in value. So if it was in that marriage time, anything, even if it's in one person's name, like the house is in one person's name, that's okay. It's a marital asset. Okay. Look at your tax returns. Tax returns are a treasure trove of information, right? In there, you have like if you have to declare dividends, you have interest that it tells you like what company it comes from, right? I mean, if you have like have to disclose that you got interest on a mutual fund, it's in your tax return, right? So you're going to know that there's a statement that goes with that, right? So there's a lot of things with the tax returns that have information, okay? Run your credit report. Your credit report, I mean, honestly, everybody should run their credit report once a year and just look at it, okay? It is all about the things that you owe. It has everything on there from your mortgage to any loans you have to any credit cards. If you're an authorized user on something versus you are it's an individual or it's joint, it has a lot of information. Run your credit report. Somebody's going to be asking for it at some point in time. And also understand if there's any business finances here. Is there a business at play? Does somebody own a business? If there might be, that you have to get your business valued. Okay. So I would get access to business financials if you don't have them. Okay. Okay. So like I said, every state is different. I'm going to talk about Connecticut. Nia's an attorney in Connecticut. So I'm going to kind of focus on that. But if you're in a different state, you have to look at what those laws are because every state is different. Okay. Connecticut is called a fair and equitable state. What does that mean? It means you're trying to come up with an agreement that's fair and equitable. Fair is going to mean something different to both spouses. Equitable doesn't necessarily mean equal, but it does mean kind of close to 50-50 as possible, right? Do you need to hire an attorney? There is a place for attorneys in each one of these processes. I would always suggest that even if you use a mediator, right, you have an attorney review your agreement on your behalf. We call it review counsel at that time. You don't need to hire them right away. Some people always have an attorney waiting in the wings to ask questions. They are very valuable, right? But no, they're expensive too, right? So most people, what they do if they do mediation is they hire them at the end, kind of be the review counsel, okay? Um, I think there's people in the waiting room. So I'm going to try to get up there and let them in. Okay. Let's see if I'm technically savvy here. I don't know. Hopefully you guys are all still there, right? Okay. Um, so yes, at some point in time, I highly recommend that you hire an attorney at some point, right? Even if it's just to do a review. You can even have an attorney review your documents when you do pro se, right? But make sure that the disclosures are all done, right? Do you have to serve your spouse? Like I said, like that is usually the standard process, right? If you go that litigation route, somebody's going to be serving the other person, whoever kind of files first, right? That's usually what takes place. If you do mediation or collaborative law, usually no. Okay. There's a waiting period to get divorced. In Connecticut, it's 90 days. It's like a cooling off period. In some states, I know North Carolina, it's a year, right? They have to live separately for a year, but Connecticut is a pretty easier state. And you get to wait that waiting period if you choose mediation or collaborative divorce. Okay. And then what's considered marital property? So I said that marital property was anything that you've acquired during the course of your marriage or has increased in value, right? That's what marital property is. So it's kind of that time frame between when you got married and when you're now getting divorced. That's marital property. Separate property is usually anything that you've had prior to your marriage or a gift or an inheritance that has not been commingled, which means it's not been put in the other spouse's name. That's when it gets a little tricky. And I just want to say Connecticut has a little bit of a nuance here because they are considered an all property state. So that does mean that some separate property can be brought into the equation when you're dividing assets and liabilities. Okay. So just as a little note there. Next. Okay. Little tips, avoiding some pitfalls along the way. Cash is king. Always have cash on hand, right? For you to make sure everything is available to you, whether it means like hiring an attorney, hiring a mediator, um, getting a new apartment, right? You need first month's deposit and security deposit usually, right? So having cash available to you is really important. Now, what I don't mean is hiding cash. I don't mean that. I just mean put some cash aside for yourself for like a rainy day fund, emergency fund, right? In the finance world, we call it an emergency fund, but this is a rainy day fund, right? Have some cash available to you. Whether that means, you are putting a little money every week aside out of your paycheck to kind of help build that up, right? So, this is coming. Have some cash on hand because I see a lot of people, this is something that they run into problems with, right? Is like, how do I pay for an attorney? Most attorneys, they want at least 5 grand as a retainer, right? When you're signing up with them, at least build that up if you're contemplating, right? While you're contemplating, get prepared. So preparation, in anything makes you less afraid and you're better to act, right? So prepare for this coming. Don't mix money and emotion. So in divorce, this can be, you're emotional, right? It is a roller coaster. Having therapy, having a therapist by your side during this time, highly recommend, because one day you can feel great and you're going to, get through it easily. And the next day you can feel very emotional, right? And so an example of mixing money and emotions is the house, right? Your house can be something you're very attracted to, for lack of a better word, right? But you want to keep it because of one reason or another. Maybe it's your place of refuge. Maybe it's where your kids grew up. You want to keep this. But if it's too expensive for you to keep, you have to be realistic about what the outcome is there, right? So kind of like having a voice of reason by your side, right? I like to say that that's what I do, right? I'm your voice of reason. I'm helping you make good decisions, right? When your brain can feel a little off kilter. Fight for what is yours. I don't mean conflict, because the worst thing that can happen in divorce is conflict. And the process is determined by how much conflict the couple has. So if you can eliminate that conflict, you're going to be better off in the long run, right? Cry to your friends, get support when you need it. But what I mean is, know what you need and get what you need. Don't leave things on the table just because you want to be nice. I know I did that in my own divorce. I want to be nice. I don't want to take a portion of his retirement funds. No, because you know what? He's not around anymore. I left that on the table, right? I can't get that back. You have one chance. Don't do what I did. Don't ignore the tax consequences. Okay. There are a lot. And in divorce, you have to be aware of some of those things. Capital gains on selling a house. There's taxes on retirement funds they have to be aware of. Or, there's not taxes on some retirement funds, right? So you have to make sure you get a fair agreement that it's not you that's paying all these taxes, and you are both have stake in that, right? And then have a good team. Divorce is really too complicated to go it alone. It really is. Okay, so this is what I do. I am a divorce planner and guide. That means as a CDFA, I help people make good decisions in divorce. I have strategy sessions where we look at manageable steps. We look at numbers that are clear. We create a strategy that is just for you. And communication is really key, right? That's one of the things that I work with, especially if you're going through mediation. Making sure you communicate really clearly and confidently. If you are proposing, a settlement option to your spouse, how do you do that, right? And then stay grounded and very informed. Okay. I'm also a mediator. I use my CDFA skills that I've learned, and I facilitate it in a way that I can help you successfully manage your divorce, make sure you understand everything that you're getting through, all the decisions that you're making, um, help you stay focused on what lies ahead. Okay. And always helping you look in the future, because that's really the key here. And keeping the process fair. I'm a financial recovery coach. That's like after you're divorced and you're like, I've never handled these finances. What do I do now? How do I make sure that I have a budget? I know how much I can spend every month. I'm not overspending. I want an opportunity. How do I get there? Right. So we create a step-by-step plan for you. And then co-parenting coaching. So I would say most of the time when I'm doing co-parenting coaches, it's with high conflict individuals, but it doesn't have to be, right? It's hard. Like you go from being a spouse, right, to now you have to co-parent with your ex-spouse, right? And sometimes there's emotions that get in the way there. So um, responding calmly. There's ways to do this. There's tips and tricks to being a good co-parent. Um, I'm glad I successfully maneuvered that. I have a senior in college now, and she's almost done with this. We're almost done on our co-parenting journey, and I think she's okay. So that's just my little funny little antidote. That's me. Okay. So always thinking about the kids first. I do have a book. If you are facing divorce and you don't want to say it out loud yet, and you just want something to give you a little guidance along the way, I've just shared with you like when I wrote this book, I interviewed different people that went through divorce and got some little anecdotes and tried to give you a little advice, some guidance. And, if you're up at night thinking about something to read, and there's some questions along the way to help you like kind of think about what you want in the future. Yep, and that's me. Okay. That's my information. So I'm going to stop sharing. I think we got a couple questions, a couple 8 questions. Okay. Okay.
Um,
Do
yeah,
you want me to do this
we have a
now?
lot of questions, Shell. So
Yeah. Want to do your presentation first and then we can go over this?
yeah, I
And I
think so.
probably talked for
I'll
longer
probably
than I was
truncate
supposed to.
mine. So I think
Okay,
that we're
sorry.
gonna I'm gonna share just to just to give a little bit of like a commercial break. I'm gonna share our gift. Um, so Shell, thank you so much. That was an amazing presentation. To be
I
honest,
hope it
like
was useful. Sorry I talked for so long.
no, I mean, just to share
Break.
with everybody, like Shell is amazing. She knows her stuff so, so well. I mean, if you go on any Facebook groups or any kind of like listservs or networking, like you'll hear her name at least, once or twice, and that's for a good reason. So thank you, Shell, so much. Um,
Thank you.
and and we're compatible, right? Like she knows what she's doing, like she's got her stuff down, and once her clients are done with the divorce, and have the decree in hand, or close to getting the decree in hand, she'll refer them over to me if they need help with us with transferring a deed over or title over to a house, which I think is one of the questions. But just very quickly, just to do like a little commercial break, I want to share so we have a raffle item that we're going to be giving away, and I have a picture of it here. It's not doing the item any justice, but I will share it just to show you guys. So Shell made this beautiful gift basket. which has all of these awesome goodies inside. So it is a beautiful, so you can't see it, but it's like in this beautiful platter, like this kind of like ceramic bowl. And there's a candle, there's a very beautiful mug. There's some treats in there. I think that's like a journal, and she's got a beautiful cozy blanket, and her books, a copy of her book is in there as well. So we are going to give this raffle item away using a random number generator, and we're just gonna go by the order of the sign up sheet. So the only person that has access to the sign up sheet is Shell. So I'm gonna do the number generator. I'm gonna give her the number, and then she's gonna choose who it was and name who the just the initials of the person who won the raffle item. So we're gonna do that at the end. So stick around. Um, and I'm gonna go ahead and share my screen now with my presentation, just very briefly. Let me just trying to go back to where I am. Oh, I think I have to go back to Zoom. Sorry, that's not very tech savvy. Okay, so oh, I'm just gonna go over like basic, what are the basics of an estate plan, and kind of like what you guys should look out for when you are thinking about redoing your estate plan. You know, if you don't have an estate plan at all, what you guys should be looking at. Um, Sorry, I think I'm sharing screen with this. Okay. All right. Shel, can you see that? Okay.
Yeah.
So a basic estate plan should have a will, healthcare directives, a power of attorney, and I always throw in a HIP authorization form. And if you want to look into advanced estate planning, living trusts as well, we can talk about that, separately as well. But the basics really are, updating your will, updating your healthcare directives, and updating your power of attorney. Most likely, you have your spouse, soon to be ex-spouse, listed as the executor, the healthcare agent, the power of attorney, and even the beneficiary, right? You want to make sure that that person has been switched out, unless you want to leave it that person for some reason. But if you want to, and that is common too, especially if you're co-parenting, you want to maybe have your spouse be the executor, and then also the trustee of any kind of trust that you may create under the will or separately as a living trust. But typically what people do is they'll change it out to somebody else. If you have minor children, then you can nominate your guardians for the minor children inside your will. And what that is basically, it's if you and your spouse, if it's a joint custody situation, if you and your spouse are unable to care for the child either due to death or some other reason, then the guardianship provision will come into effect. And whoever you name as the guardian in your estate plan will then be able to take over, taking care of your child. There are some steps in there that I'm skipping over just for the interest of time, but essentially, that's the importance of having a will so that you can have that guardian and the backup guardian named if that person is unable to act. Healthcare directives, so kind of same concept where you want to remove that ex-spouse, you want to have the person that's going to be taking care of you if you're unable to make your own medical decisions for yourself, named in that healthcare directive as your healthcare representative or healthcare agent, and also naming a backup for that as well. In the healthcare directive, there's also something called a living will. which is different from regular will. So living will is separate from it's what a last will and testament is. The last will and testament is the document that says, this is my executor, this is where I want all of my stuff to go, and this is how I want it to be divvied up, and this is who I want my guardians for my kids to be. In the living will, it is a document that says if this person is in a terminal condition or permanently unconscious, which means that they're in either a permanent coma or a persistent vegetative state, that this person is no longer allowed to live and that life support not be given to this person. A lot of people ask me, if I have if I have a living will, does the healthcare rep come into play at all, or will the doctor just pull the plug? And I'm like, no, no, definitely the doctor will ask the healthcare rep what you want, what they want for you. It is not just a document that the doctor looks at and says, okay, this is what the living will says, so we're just going to pull it. No, that's not how it works. They'll still go to the healthcare rep and ask them, how would you like us to proceed? Healthcare directives also mention what the burial, cremation slash organ donation preferences are of the individual, so you will dictate that there. And then lastly, it's the power of attorney, which is like one of the most important documents, right? You want to have a power of attorney at all times. In order to use the power of attorney, however, the principal, which is you, the creator of the power of attorney, has to be alive. If you are alive, it's a principal agent relationship. So if you are alive, the agent can act on your behalf, whether you're out of state or out of the country or incapacitated or just not able to be at the meeting to sign the document that you have to sign. Um, if you are no longer alive, the power of attorney goes away because there is no principal to act on behalf of anymore. So that's a question I get a lot. And then once that person passes away, that's when the will comes into effect, and then the executor's role comes into effect as well. And then the living trust is, obviously an advanced form of estate planning that we can talk about, in either a private consultation or separately after the meeting. But it's basically a document that is put in place when you're alive, and it basically takes over, in the event of incapacity or death. The successor trustee will then take over managing your assets and making sure that the distributions are made per the trust provisions. Um, a couple other things that I want to go over that are not on this slide are beneficiary designations. So beneficiary designations are a big thing. A lot of people, a lot of assets are mostly in retirement accounts, IRAs, 401ks, whether it's a Roth IRA, SEP IRA, traditional IRA, whatever it may be. So it's really important that after the divorce, or even before it, you update your beneficiaries, right? You have to make sure all of the beneficiaries are switched out and make sure that there is a backup also listed. Um, what I normally advise my clients is, if you want to have a trust set up, then you want to make that trust your beneficiary. Because if you don't, and you have minor children or even grown children, your child is going to get that entire asset upon your death. So if you want to have some kind of staggered distribution where they get like a third and then a half and then the rest at certain ages, then you want to set up a trust and have the beneficiary be the trust. Um, and then property, so houses, right? They're a big, big thing. Probably an individual's one of their, if not their biggest asset. When the divorce decree is finalized, or sometimes a little bit before then, I get a call from somebody who is recently divorced, and they say, I need to either take my name off the house, or my ex-spouse, needs to take their name off the house. How do I do that? And the way you do this is through a quit claim deed. I always ask to see the divorce decree. I verify that that's actually what is supposed to happen. And then I will draft the quitclaim deed, come to my office, sign it, and record it. And that's how you transfer title over to your spouse. Um, Another big thing that I get asked a lot after divorce is finalized is I have this IRA that needs to be split up 50-50. How do I do that? You go to your financial advisor or the financial institution, and both parties are are entitled to ensure that this has been done correctly. But you will then advise the financial institution how to split those assets up into two separate accounts. And then lastly, there are accounts where there's a minor child involved. So you want to have the minor child get assets from your ex-spouse's accounts, but you want to make sure that the ex-spouse has the money put into a trust. So this can be part of the divorce decree as well, where there's a trust created or a trust is to be created as the beneficiary of a retirement account for the benefit of a child, and the ex-spouse has to be the trustee. So that's a very common provision that I see in divorce decrees, so that you know that there is going to be money left, for your child, if something happens. So I think that I'm going to stop there, and then we're probably going to take questions for the last 10 to 12 minutes, because I know that you guys had a couple questions, and before I started talking, I'm sure there's more now. But uh, Shell, do you want to start from the top? Just kind of go
Okay,
down.
sure. Yeah. The first question that was submitted was, when you say abuse should be handled through litigation, does that include infidelity, or could mediation still be an option for that? Mediation can definitely still be an option for that. When I talked about the abuse, right, it's more centered around like domestic violence, right, or intimate partner violence. And I wanted to mention financial too, right? Because some people are in a relationship where they don't have access to finances or don't know what those financials are. Litigation would definitely be the direction to go in that, or emotional abuse where, maybe they're limited to being able to do anything, right? So those are the situations. Infidelity, unfortunately, happens so often that yes, mediation. It's as long as the two of you can be like look out for each other's best interest, or the children's best interest. You have that focus in mind. Mediation is a good route to take. And here, this just popped in my mind. Something I always say. I always suggest that mediation is a good place to start, right? Most people make it through mediation. Um, and if you don't, usually it's towards the end of the mediation process that you're going to get kind of hung up. So at least you've made decisions along the way, and nothing is wasted if you start the mediation process. So that's what I would say to that. What's the strategy when one person has a 401k and the other is a state employee? Okay, state employees, they have retirement plans too, but one of the big things that they have is a pension. Um, so here's what I just want to say about this. It's not a myth about divorce, right? Is you're sharing everything like kind of 50-50. That's not really how it works. It's kind of, I like to describe it like you put everything in a bucket, and your bucket totals, let's just say $1 million, right? And you're trying to disseminate this $1 million in a way that both of you get a fair share of that $1 million. Okay, so you're going to put your 401k in there, the house, the state employee's pension. You're going to look at what that all totals. If it's $1 million, how do we each come out with a fair settlement from this, right? So you kind of have to know your whole portfolio before you start making decisions. Okay. How do you remove a house from your home deed? I think you did mention that, Nia, but you just want to mention it again quickly about the quit claim deed.
Yeah, so if you are the one being removed, like, if you agree to um, you know, give up the house in exchange for a buyout, then you would be the one signing the deed. over to your ex-spouse and vice versa. So if you are the one keeping the house, but your ex-spouse is going to be bought out of his share of the equity, his or her share of the equity, then he would be the one that is um, he or she, whoever the spouse is, will be the one that's signing the deed over to the other person. So that's basically what it is. It's a simple process, honestly. I will do a title search for you if you want. Typically, I don't. Typically, I just look at the most recent deed and know who the title holders are, right? And then if I see any issues, then I'll bring them up to you. But I get these all the time. People come to me all the time. I have this divorce decree. I need to, give my ex-spouse the deed to the house. How do I do that? Come to my office.
And is the key having the divorce decree in place before you do any of the quit claim deed?
Yeah, because you don't want to give your ex-spouse something that they don't legally have the right to yet,
Right.
until the judge like stamps that decree, it's not final. So
Right.
I would wait until that happens. So I always advise my clients, once you have the decree in hand, you can come in and sign like that day if you want. But I mean,
And
yeah,
I think, and I'm just like reacting to the way it was worded. How do you remove a spouse? It's not you removing the spouse, right? It's the spouse handing it over to you. Is that
exactly.
what I heard? Okay.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. Um, so you can give them Nia's name. Okay. I moved into my husband's house when we got married. My name never got put on the house. I have a 401k and he does not. He has already threatened to take half my 401k. Am I entitled to half of this house? So, um, your house, yes, you are putting marital fund. If you are using marital property, which is like your income that you're making, right? And you're putting that into the mortgage, into repairs, it's considered marital property, right? The house. So you're putting those marital funds, you're using it to, pay the mortgage or the insurance or the taxes, or he is. That's marital property too, right? So yes, that gets put in that little proverbial bucket, right? The house does, like how much. He might have maybe put a down payment, but then he might say, hey, I deserve to kind of get that back, or, something like that. That happens. But yes, everything kind of gets involved, right? Whether it's in one person's name, whether it's registered jointly, it's still considered marital property. So your 401k is considered marital property. The house should be considered marital property as well. Be careful with your threats, right? One thing, never a good situation. And any time that I've ever heard about like people negotiating before they have a mediator, have all the information on a piece of paper. Don't enter into any negotiation ahead of time that you will regret later on, right? When you know how it all works. So that's just a little note of caution. Do you have a website where the calculations are on how to figure out the percentage differences of salaries of both parties? So I think you're talking about child support calculations. Connecticut's child support calculation isn't it is truly about income. You can find some calculators out there. I would be cautious because it's probably not reading the Connecticut guidelines, right? There's a table that they use that basically says, it basically like lays out you have two incomes combined, they make X. If you have one child, it's reading a table and saying your one child should cost X amount of dollars for food, clothing, and shelter. And then it splits it out based on how much each of you make, right? So just be careful with those online calculators because they are usually somebody's put together some like algorithms that help people just like kind of get an idea. But I don't know how often they're updated or or if it's even correct. right? So I'm not giving you any advice about that. I would have a professional run these for you. That's what I would say. Okay. Especially we all use software that helps us. So that's what I would tell you to do. Um, Abandonment of a marital home under the law. I mean, you'd have to ask a attorney about this, right? About abandonment of marital. Do you know about any of this? Nia, abandonment of
Unfortunately, don't
marital?
know.
Yeah. I this is definitely legal advice. Um, and people talk about this under the a lot. I would say, ask an attorney. I can't give you that kind of information.
Shell can recommend a
That's
couple
a
of
good idea. I
attorneys
do.
who do
Yeah.
this, like family law attorneys who do this
Yeah.
every single day.
Yeah. I have a
And like Shell
good,
was
I
saying
have,
before, it's important to find the right fit. I think there was a question down the line about like if you if you retain the law firm and if you don't feel like it's a good fit for you, can you terminate the relationship? Yes, you can terminate the relationship. Can you get your retainer back? Depends on the situation. Usually for fees incurred, no. But it's kind of case by case.
yeah.
Um,
Can you legally request a cognitive test on a spouse? So is this estate planning related? Legally request a cognitive test
Cognitive
on,
test. Uh,
like
you mean
that they
to
have
find out if
Alzheimer's?
that person is mentally has capacity or incapacitated. If that is the case, you can do that. I have not had that come across my desk, but you can have in my documents the way I define incapacity is by having the spouse state on paper that this person is incapacitated and have two independent physicians also state that this person is incapacitated. And then once we have those documents in place, once the physician signed those documents, then if there's a trust involved, then the successor trustee can take over. They can accept the appointment of successor trustee. Um,
Yeah.
if it is to, file for like a conservatorship or a guardianship, then, I would recommend that we have a separate conversation about that. I don't do a lot of those, but I have attorney friends that do. So I can definitely recommend those
Yeah.
attorneys.
Yeah, I think I know a couple of people too. So that's good. That's actually a really good question. And thank you, because that was good information.
Yes, that was a good question.
What if you disagree about how much parents need to contribute to care for college-age children? Go to mediation. You could go to the court system too, but I would say this is a mediation thing. If you disagree about anything to do with the children at any point in time, you can always go to mediation and mediate an agreement. Hopefully that answers the question. Are online companies like LegalZoom recognized by the courts?
So it's not really like the company itself that gets recognized. It's whether the document that they provide is a validly drafted slash executed document in the jurisdiction that the document is recorded in. So I would always I would always recommend that you go to an actual attorney licensed in the state, right? That instead of an online service. But I always, I see people do it all the time and I review them and I'm like, yeah, I would have done it this way. So I would recommend that you hire an attorney that you can like see face to face.
Yeah. Makes
It is 1 o'clock, Shell. Should we
Yeah.
keep going or?
Okay. You want to do the raffle, and then if somebody wants to stay and they have questions, we can keep
Yeah,
going? Is that
sounds
okay?
good.
Okay.
Sounds good. All right, so I'm going to run the random number generator, and I came to number 5.
The initials are CD. That's all I'm going to give out right now. There's a CD. I'll be in touch with you and I'll send you a little email this afternoon. Okay. And can I pick it up at your office? Should I have,
Sure. Or I can drop it off. Yeah, it doesn't matter.
either? Okay. We'll figure
Yeah.
that out from
It's
the email.
it's I'm in possession of it, but Shell made it. So
I know that's why I asked. I was like,
we can
I could
both be there when you
bring,
pick it
but
up.
yeah, I'm gonna see her tomorrow anyway, so maybe if
Yeah.
I'm here. Yeah.
That's true.
Okay, I'm gonna go back to the questions if you want to stay on. If you have to jump off, totally understand. Okay.
Yes, thank you guys so
Um,
much.
yeah, thank you,
Oh, my
everybody.
contact information is here, I'm gonna
Once
just
again,
copy and paste my signature block really
yeah,
quickly.
I'm gonna put mine in there too. If you need anybody's, it's gonna be in the recording. Oh, maybe Nia's is not. So Nia, yeah, definitely. Oh, I like your signature. Cool. Okay, I just put my email address. Oh, you need your contact. Okay, you were asking for that. I see. Let's see. There was another question about how much does a quit claim deed cost?
I charge it's 375 for for drafting and executing, and then there is a recording fee of $80. And typically I will for you to take it out right after we sign, to bring it right to the town hall and get it recorded the same day. So
Awesome.
you can go ahead and do that.
Okay.
It's
My husband
nice.
started a small business and
Like,
only his name. In the last 2 to 3 years, I've been the one running it. Oh, do you have any right to the business? If you, yes, see, business is part of your marital assets. You do. You have a right to the business if you divorce. Um, Usually you're either looking at it one way or another, and one way is to get it business valued. I actually have a referral partner that I work with that does a lot of my business valuation. She's affordable compared to other firms, and you get it valued, and that's part of the marital property. Sometimes if they're like a consultant, it can just be counted as income because it wouldn't be like a valuation. Like my business, I'll just say, like my business, it's me, right? So you can't really value me, even though, invaluable. I don't know. Sorry.
you are 100%.
I try to be funny sometimes. If you hire a law firm and realize that they're okay, that's where you say, yeah, you can, yeah, Nia answered this one. Yeah, you can always get a refund of your retainer. Hiring somebody that is a good fit for you is always the right way to go, right? And if you find out later on they're not, it happens. What kind of steps can I take if your ex does not give you the IRA he um, commented to in the decree? Does that number grow through the years or does it stay stagnant to the number that was on the decree? Okay. You and I were talking about this morning. So the person who's
Yeah,
receiving the money, right, is usually the person that calls the financial institution and works with a financial advisor, right, to get that money out of whether it's an IRA or you have to get a quadro to get the 401k. You can call and get that initiated, right? It's not up to the person that owns the 401k or IRA or retirement fund to do the initiation. It's the other party. So, and it all depends on what was written in your divorce decree. Really, every divorce is different. If it said you get
mm,
X amount of dollars, that's what you're going to get, right? If it said it grows with gains or losses, then
yeah,
that's what you get, right? So, and you need a
exactly.
financial advisor to help you know what exactly that is. So,
And that's one of the reasons why it's probably really good to have that review council
yeah,
aspect of the mediation if you go down that route, because it is important to make sure that the quadro, the QDRO,
yeah,
says that the sum of X amount of dollars from the
yeah,
whatever 401k, if it's to Hartford or wherever, managed by, and then it'll say who it's managed by, is
right.
accrued as of the date of the dissolution of marriage. And I just know this because I had a client who had this exact situation.
Yeah.
And the quadro did say that if the money was accruing as of the date of dissolution of marriage, adjusted for gains and losses from the date of that dissolution to the date that the wife sets up the separate account. So even if she didn't do it right away, she still has a right to all the gains and losses, um,
Mhm.
to when she
Yeah.
opens an account.
Right. And
The
it's
gains, but yeah.
most divorce professionals, they write all of this right into the decree. So it's very important. Like I even write in who's responsible for going to
Mm.
make this happen, right? Because it's important. And who the quadro attorney is that you're using, all of that. So hopefully that's in your decree. And if not, ask your attorney that you used, right? How you do that. So actionable steps for removing somebody out of the house who is unable to buy out and refusing to leave. That's definitely an attorney question. You probably need an attorney. You probably need to retain an attorney to get this done. So definitely contact an attorney to find out how to get somebody removed from the house.
I
Um,
mean, if it was part of the divorce decree that they would leave,
yeah,
I would assume that you could bring it back to the court for like contempt of order or something like that.
sure.
But
Yeah,
if it wasn't part of the decree and they're now just considered to be like a squatter or like a kind of like a
yeah.
tenant, landlord tenant situation, I would try. Yeah, I mean, I think that the first thing you would do is call the police, right? To try
Yeah.
to get like a restraining order or
Call the
something like that. But
police.
again,
Or
yeah, that
if you
probably
had an
goes.
attorney that wrote up the decree or like helped you, contact them and find out how, like, if there's a contempt, like you were saying. Um, yeah, it sounds like though they were the one that's supposed to buy out. And if you're trying to get somebody to leave and there's no agreement yet, get an agreement. What I have to say. Get
Mm-hmm.
the agreement. Yeah. If you have to put cash aside for a rainy day fund, that should still be considered as, oh yes, definitely.
Oh,
Oops, I don't know what happened. Um,
no, sorry.
I
I was
muted
trying
myself.
to mute others and then I
Oh,
muted you by accident. I'm sorry.
oh, that's okay. That's okay. Oh, we got your contact information in. So thank you. I'm glad it was helpful. Um,
And
yes, it's going to be
somebody asked if
recorded.
we picked a person for the basket yet. We did. It was somebody with the initial CD, and
CD.
we're going to
Yeah,
reach out to them afterwards.
yeah, CD. So if your initials are CD or you signed up and they were CD, maybe because you maybe signed up, I'll be into
Wait,
contact.
is a D as in dog or B as in
D
boy?
as in dog. Yeah.
Okay.
C as in cat and D as in dog. Okay. All right. I think we
Um,
got to the end of that.
all right.
I think we got it all right. Yeah.
I'm
Other
sorry.
than,
I think I muted you by accident for that rainy day question.
oh,
Do you mind
oh, they're,
just say answer
yeah,
one more time?
that's
Sorry.
funny. What if you find that they've been, there's a follow-up of that too. What if you find out they've been taking money from a shared bank account and putting it in their own rainy day fund? I mean, everything's going to be marital property anyways, right? Like, um, my advice would be to not have unnecessary conflict, kind of pick your battles, right? They're going to have to disclose that as long as you know they put this on their own, they're probably because they're trying to have a emergency fund, right? Honestly, emergency funds financially, you should have them anyway. You have money set aside, right? So, yeah, that's what I have to say. We could go into your own if you want to have a consultation. We can talk about your own specific situation, but
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. I think that having this information session is great, but if you want to speak in more depth, you should definitely make an appointment with Shell, and then
thank you.
if yeah,
Yeah.
for those of you who do get to that finish line, I'm happy to help afterwards with the estate planning aspect of it.
And I'm not just saying this because she said this about me, but she's awesome to work with. Nia's always has good information, always getting educated. My clients really love her and working with her. But I would even say if you are contemplating divorce and you've never done a will or never done an estate, like that's something you should always have in place, right? Because your estate plan, like God forbid anything happened to you between now and after the divorce, right? You always need that in place, right? And I know a lot of people usually come to me when they're going through divorce and they don't have any of that. So important,
Mm,
especially if you have children, right?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. And thank you, Shell. But yes, I do agree on that point as well.
yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming today. It was a good session. Thank you so much for your questions.